I had a lot of surprises as a doctor with patients. And when I wrote the book, I thought I would leave to the reader's imagination to make it a bit different and a bit interesting.
Did you have anything in mind yourself when what that word might be? Or can't you say on air?
I don't think I can say it on air.
Indeed.
No.
I mean, the book, is it kind of a bit like James Herriot, you know, when he wrote about his experiences as being a vet in Yorkshire? I mean, is that
Yes.
the principle of it?
Yes. It was to emphasise, it's not meant to be an autobiography. It's meant to emphasise the sort of stoical nature of the black country folk and how they deal with medical and general lifestyle problems. And it's to praise them up in a way.
What gave you the idea? I mean, was there a light bulb moment when you thought, yeah, I'm going to do it?
Yes. I went to Hartland's Hospital one morning and I was half asleep. I'd been up all night, just like these junior doctors are going on strike for at present. And a patient of mine from Wolverhampton, who was in hospital in Birmingham, said to me, he said, "Do you look half asleep this morning, doctor?" And he said, "I can't hear what you're saying because you're going to operate on my ears." And he said, I said to him, "I've been up all night doing so-and-so." He said, "You should write that down. You should write that down." So I went home and I did. And I spent 5 years doing it.
Yeah. So was it in idle moments when you just thought, oh yes, must write this down? Or did you have any sort of real pattern to it?
Yes, yes. I go to the gym regularly, and one of the places you can go in absolute quiet and ignore the background music is the gym. And often in the evening when I was in the bath, I put set times aside. The problem with recollections is they don't come back chronologically, and it took me a long time to fit them all together into a pattern and make a story out of the book.
You mentioned the junior doctors. Have you got sympathy with what they're saying at the moment?
Yes. I don't think they've gone about it the right way. You need the public on your side. But in days gone by, the hours that I worked, I could be, as a GP, on call. I was at work all day Wednesday, I'd be on call all night, and I was often out all night, and I would go to the hospital next day, and I would do outpatients and operate as a surgeon, completely by myself. And the patients I were operating on didn't know that I hadn't been to bed for 2 days. And this is what the junior doctors now are trying to avoid.
Because there's a danger then you can make mistakes, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. And patient care is affected. And I thought we got out of that old-fashioned poor system, but apparently that were there. The doctors are saying that the government want to put them back into the same sort of system, hence their antagonism to it.
You hear an awful lot of people when they qualify as doctors now saying, I haven't quite decided, but I don't want to be a GP.
Yeah.
What made you want to be one?
I trained as an ENT surgeon, and I was a trainee mainly in Birmingham, but it was almost like a call of the wild. My grandfather had his own coal mine, my father had his own foundry, and I was gradually called back. I gradually realised that surgery was not the career for me. I'd done half the examinations. I'm an affiliate of the Royal College, I'm not a fellow. And I think that the family ties gradually drew me back into the black country. And I went into general practice very close to where I was brought up.
And never regretted it?
Never, no. On the contrary. I think I made the right decision. Although I continued to be a surgeon all my up to retirement. I was actually a surgeon, of course, longer than I was a GP.
So as a GP, when presumably these stories are all in your book, aren't they? That people came in, some people would just want to have a chat, some people you knew exactly what it was. Did you ever look up and think, oh no, not again? Good morning, how are you? In
those days, the patient saw the GP, and there was continuity of care, which is one of the problems we don't have now. When you go to your GP now, you're never quite sure who you're going to see. After about 3 or 4 years, I knew all my patients personally, and I knew when they hadn't, if they sent for me a home visit, I would sometimes not ask what was the problem, because if Mrs. So-and-so sent, you went right away. she'd have a problem she couldn't deal with. I got to know them personally, and they me as well. And I become friends with, close personal friends with many of them. I think we've lost some of the personal contact that we used to have with our doctors.
And of course you'd see that through the generations, wouldn't you?
Yes.
There'll be grandma and daughter,
Yep.
and so on and so on.
By the time I retired, I was delivering granddaughters of children I originally delivered.
Yeah. In a sentence or two, what is it about people in the Black Country that so grabbed you? I know you were born there, but it's a different thing maybe to work in there.
Their stoical nature, they have their own language, which is very similar to German. They are friendly, and they are incredibly hard-working and mainly stoical in nature, I would think. The book contains quite a bit of coarse language, but it's written in Black Country dialogue, and it was as it was spoken to me. It's the spoken word, and I worked hard on recollecting what was actually said to me and reproducing it in the book. And I think it comes over quite forcibly, even if you can't speak Black Country language.
There must as well in among it, and I'm thinking back again to, James Herriot and his vet books and things, that there must be a lot of humour in your job as well.
Oh yes. There's a tremendous amount of humour in the book. But the main thing is, one thing about general practice, which is different than the hospital doctor, is you see your patients get better, and you laugh and joke about the adversity that they've overcome. Problem with the hospital doctor is, you see them, you operate on them, you see them once in outpatient, you never see them again. And although they're having a wonderful life from whatever you've done, you never see them. In general practice, you live with them. You see them in the newspaper shop down the road. So you can always have a laugh. This is one of the stoical things about Black Country folk, how they cope with adversity.
Was it a surprise to you how people were when you became their GP?
Yes, I think it was. I was a bit wary because, being a local fellow, I knew quite a few of the patients. I thought they would take advantage of me. But in fact, it was the other way around. I took advantage of them in a way.
Yeah.
And quite often, what is interesting about a general practitioner is how people come and discuss very, very confidential information with you, which they wouldn't often talk to their spouse about. A lot of the ladies surprised me, the things they came to talk to me about. A lot of the ladies don't always want to see a female doctor, and the same with the men as well.
Yeah. Well, they're coming up to you and they're saying, now look, Edward, I've known you since you were this high, but I'm still going to tell you.
Yes, exactly.
Was that how it was?
You've got some Black Country experience, yes.
Yeah, it's because as well, you make the point, and it's well documented, that, I mean, it's an area that's had a lot of hard times, hasn't it? So you've got to have a certain something inbred in you to get through this.
There was a lot of deprivation after the Second World War, and when I first moved, especially when I first moved to Wolverhampton, the Black Country was an apt description. Everything was black. People had, there was a lot of unemployment, a lot of heavy industry as well, created a lot of industrial, there's a lot of industrial illness. Men, when they retired at 65, had to retire. They were physically unfit to work longer than that because of the heavy manual work. And they often had large families. There was no contraception available. Do you know who made contraception available on the National Health Service?
I don't.
The Minister of Health. It was Enoch Powell.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Well, for all the criticism he got at some stages in his life,
yes, that's
I'm
true,
sure
yes.
a lot of people will.
Yes, and he was a Wolverhampton MP.
Yes,
yeah.
of course he was. Yeah. Now your book is available on Amazon, isn't it?
On Amazon as paperback,
and
on Amazon as an ebook, and other ebook sites as well.
Right. So you'll be doing book signings in the local shops, will you? Is that how it'll work?
Mainly in people's houses, I think, because it's self-published. Yes.
Yeah. What reaction have you had? Just finally.
I've been inundated with book requests, talks, and things as today for the last month or 6 weeks.